Hi there, hi again from the Bob and Ramon show, from
Bob
and from Ramon.
Me.
Now today's video is spinning off from the last one we did about some favourite live guitar solos. This time what we're going to do is I'm going to pitch Ramon a bunch of mainly studio recorded solos. These are some of my favourite solos. There's some because I could as easily play you Stairway to Heaven and Crossroads and blah, blah, but you've heard those. What I'm trying to do here is to play you a few songs that you'll know some of these for sure, but you might not know all of them. Some of the solos are quite long and involved, some are quite short. But I thought what I'd do is start with three solos that fit together, and they fit together for a simple reason. They're all played by the same bloke. His name is Ritchie Blackmore. He was the guitarist in Deep Purple. And they were a good band, really good band. Quite a few people passed through Deep Purple during its era. Generally speaking, people regard what was called the Mark IV outfit, which was the one that made Deep Purple in rock. Ian Pace, Roger Glover, Ian Gillan, John Lord, and Ritchie Blackmore, those five. That's generally considered to be the classic Deep Purple. And they made Deep Purple in rock, which is an amazing album. And I actually want to start there with the solo that Ritchie Blackmore did for a long song called Child in Time. And it's a real, big, epic piece, this. It's got amazing high sung parts from Ian Gillan to kind of in the choruses. It starts off very slow and very somber and sort of almost church bell type organ and stuff. But then it gets going in Deep Purple style. After Ian Gillan's done the high wailing bits, it goes into a staccato piece that leads into a guitar solo from Ritchie Blackmore. The guitar solo starts off quite legato and quite languid, featuring on a minor ninth figure, but then it gets going. And the bit about the guitar solo that's best for me is not actually the playing, it's how Ritchie Blackmore leads the rhythm change, because it goes from quite slow and anthemic into a good old dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. And that's the bit for me where the song really lifts off. The solo is fantastic. It's pyrotechnical. It's like all the solos of the time. It's slightly out of time. And it's got lots of fantastic arpeggiated figures that most other guitar players wouldn't get near for years. Ending up with a very fast set of arpeggios that are first played in unison and then in harmony with the organ before it goes back to the slow bit. So that's the first one that I'm going to subject Ramon to.
Wow. So that was a beautiful. I mean, I remember listening to that, way, 20, 25 years ago. And I haven't heard it really since then. I don't know how I've missed it, but incredible. Just beautiful, thick tone coming from a Stratocaster, I'm guessing.
I think so.
It's a very thick sound, very fluid, a very fluid guitar solo.
Very rhythmic, isn't it?
Very rhythmic, very fluid, and you just want to listen to more. You want to. It's not a solo where you're like, oh, it's like he takes you on the journey.
Absolutely, and you see what I mean about the way he's using the guitar playing to actually pull the band into another rhythm.
Yes, and that long sustained note, and then goes into.
Now, with that very theme, I want you to listen now to the next one, which is called Hallelujah. Now, the background of this is from an earlier version of Deep Purple, when I think they had a different vocalist and a different bass player. It's a funny song. It was written by Roger Greenaway, who wrote a lot of pop songs around that time, and it's a sort of cod Christian song, really. It's not much of a song, but the guitar playing that's interleaved through it is pretty fantastic. And the solo is very short. It's fantastic Ritchie Blackmore, very melodic, but listen to what he does with the rhythm. You're only going to have to listen for about 15 seconds, but have a listen.
Wonderful, yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny because I can hear that the British kind of sound of Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page in there as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, but also a little bit of neoclassical,
yes.
long before the Yngwie Malmsteens of this world and stuff. And some beautiful vibrato work, tremolo arm work and stuff. It's really well considered.
All those pre-bands, bending down, he really did master that.
Yeah,
bending sort of beautiful.
And you can hear again what he's doing. He changes the rhythm. He goes into it, and then comes the band. So he's playing for a good 2 bars in a different rhythm to the band, and he pulls them into it.
He also, and again, this is what we talked about in our previous video. He's playing for the song, and it's an extension of the kind of the song, the theme.
It is.
And
it's lovely and short. It's its own man. Now, the third bit, while we're still on Ritchie Blackmore, the third bit, it's a slightly longer listen. It's a song called "Why Didn't Rosemary." It comes off the Hieronymus Bosch album, so again, it's quite early. It's a strange song. It's a 16-bar blues, so it's basically a 12-bar with an extended turnaround.
Only hooker style.
The guitar solo has got 3 verses,
right?
And I'm probably when we come to play this, not least because I don't want to put up more music than I absolutely have to, because I want to fit within Google's fair use policies for copyright and stuff, because we're not trying to steal anybody's lunch here. We're actually trying to do a bit of respect and worship. But I might cut it short. But I think that the most important solo is actually the beginning of the 2nd or 3rd verse, where the tone changes. And he starts playing some very strange notes and rhythms. So have a listen to the whole solo and see what you think.
you can hear the kind of the beginnings of all the kind of sort of metal shredders have just taken Richie's licks and just sped them up a few times, you know.
So this solo, it starts off, the first 8 bars are 2 notes, just played in different octaves. And then he gets going. And then the breaks are beautiful. In fact, the breaks, when we come to another song I'm going to play you, that guitarist has actually lifted one of those breaks across the span of more than 30 years.
So what I'm getting from his playing, Bob, and really I've always been a fan of Richie Blackmore's, and, you know, is that he's come from that kind of blues, the kind of the typical skiffle blues thing.
Yeah.
But he's brought in these classical influences, and he's tried to amalgamate those influences into something pretty new. And again, his rhythm, he's really interesting. He's kind of that kind of galloping rhythm that they're kind of they feature on this track, and he's really very a rhythmic lead soloist. So
they're a band that really gets going. You can see they're a band that, you know, did a lot of live gigging and stomping it out in the clubs. Also, I think to your point,
works. His playing really works for that band.
It does, but also to your point about his classical influence, bear in mind the keyboard player in the band is John Lord. He's classically trained. Chances are the two of them are mucking around on arpeggios, and Richie Blackmore's saying, "What's that and how does that go?" And John Lord is probably bringing quite a lot of classical technique to him, and Blackmore's just literally feeding it up like a sponge. Anyway, that's enough. That's a bit of Richie Blackmore. While we're staying in this era, I'm going to go across the pond now to 2 songs, one of which was reasonable-sized pop hit for a band called the Three Dog Night, which I think has some slightly obscene reference, but people can look that up for themselves on Google. The Three Dog Night was actually a band formed by 3 singers, and the rest of the band were almost like pickup musicians. There's nobody particularly famous in this band. This song was covered by Tom Jones and Kelly Jones of the Stereophonics, and they did a pretty good job of it. But for me, this original is much better, not least because it also sounds like it's from the time. But it's the guitar solo that really interests me most. It's probably 8 bars. It's a wonderful little piece. See what you think of it.
Well, that is a quintessential pop solo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come in, say your piece, get out.
And it's lovely. It's got the right notes. It's got the right tone. I think he's got a distorted guitar with a bit of Leslie on it.
Yeah, there was that. You know that kind of Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
There was that kind of Joe Walsh, funky sort of country picking.
Nice kind of syncopation, tension.
And there was a bit of that going on.
Yeah.
You know?
So nice, again, just a lovely little piece, you know, and I hope you liked it, and I hope the our viewers like it as well. While we're on short,
was it a phaser on there? Was there some kind of a phaser on that?
I think it's a Leslie. It's a rotating speaker. Yeah, probably a typical studio production trick of the time. So while we're at that kind of era, this next piece is about contemporary with that, and it's also very short and sharp. This one is by a band called Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. Delaney and Bonnie and Friends were very important because they were Eric Clapton's refuge after he became disillusioned with being a hero in Cream and then Blind Faith. And Delaney and Bonnie, where Eric went quite briefly almost to rehabilitate himself before reinventing himself as the solo artist that we've all known and loved for 50 years. And this song, Coming Home, it's got all kinds of stuff. It's got lots of guitars on it, not all played by Eric. But the solo is one of the shortest Eric Clapton solos I know. And it's absolutely wonderful.
Sing a song, got a whole lot of loving, and baby, that's why I'm coming home to your love. Coming home.
fantastic. That really is. It's quite. You know, again, it's got those kind of boom,
Yep.
and then
That's
that kind of.
Yeah.
But very. I see you like very syncopated rhythmic solos, Bob.
The other thing I like about this is it uses a great trick. You know, one of the ways that you can really get a lot of effect out of a guitar solo is maybe ZZ Top do it, for example, by in La Grange by going up. They go up from A to C, don't they, into the solo, yeah? And that gives a real lift. This time, what happens is the band's playing along, you know, around the 1 and the 4 chords, and they drop down to the 5 chord for the solo.
Right.
And that's what, so Clapton is actually playing some pretty standard guitar playing there. He's playing it beautifully, but what really makes it is the chords drop to the 5 chord below it.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different feel. I loved this solo for years before I worked out that it wasn't the solo I liked, it was the drop of the band behind it.
It's an interesting guitar tone as well. He's probably playing a Strat or a Tele or of some kind, isn't he?
It's the guitars he had at the time. He could have still had that Telecaster Custom.
Right, yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
The one with it was a Tele with a Strat neck, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then he had the maple neck ash body Strat.
And the Strat, absolutely. So one of those, it's pretty definitely a Fender, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little bit of Clapton to throw in because nothing would be complete without Clapton. Now, really going time traveling now. This is quite long, so I'm not quite sure how to extract the right bit for the for the video when we edit this together. But this is 10 years after again, Alvin Lee playing Spoonful, Willie Dixon's Spoonful, which, as we all know, is 2 chords. Boom, 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 boom. This lasts for 5 minutes. It's an unusual example of Alvin Lee still playing his kind of quick, flashy stuff, but it's slightly more restrained and slightly vintage and more old feel. So have a listen to about a minute of it, because it's all you need. You don't need the full Monty, but it shows what a bloody good guitar player he was underneath all the chutzpah.
Okay, well, this is like the first one that I didn't really care for. If I don't want to, I'm going to be totally honest with you. For me, I think he's playing. We on our previous video we did where he was playing live at Woodstock. For me, that really did work. That was very impressive. I felt like he didn't let his lines breathe as much as he could. I don't want to take this guy, God rest his soul, you know, he's a very fine guitar player, a very fine fella. But for me, I think Clapton, maybe it's just more fluid when Clapton played this particular song. And
I think one of the reasons I'm so fond of this is that I used to go and see bands play like this in clubs all the time. Yeah. And 10 years after, they are a 4-piece, they've got a keyboard, but really it's a 3-piece feel. Right. And you've got a guitar player playing an awful lot to kind of fill the space.
Yeah.
In many ways, if I listen to a more modern player, like, you know, for example, the other guy who plays the amps we play, Philip Sace, he has moments of sounding very much like that when he's playing blues. He's sort of playing quite a lot to kind of fill the space and create the whole 3-piece vibe and sound. It's a really hard thing to do, to play in a 3-piece and keep things interesting.
Yeah, I think that's why Stevie and Clapton in their own respective fields was just so good, and Robben Ford as well. They didn't let it dictate to them. Even Andy Summers, they just worked with the space.
Yeah.
They worked, instead of trying to fill the space.
Yeah.
Let the space be, and they weren't afraid of it. They weren't afraid of space.
So that's that. Now, while we're in that era, I'm going to stay with that era for one more piece. You'll know this piece very well. Again, I'm not quite sure how to edit this for the video because it's an instrumental piece, so the whole thing is important. But I mean, you can start to play it wherever you like. You can start at the beginning, or you can start in the middle, or you can start at the sweet little end. Everything about this is absolutely perfect electric guitar playing, and it's not at all heroic or distorted or overdriven or shouty. It's just immaculate.
Yeah, well, again, another textbook piece of how to build. He's got, this is 4 minutes of just a masterclass in how to play blues, basically.
Absolutely.
To keep the listener interested till the end. And space. There you go. He's working with a space.
Yeah.
And then he's using the pickups. He's turning to the starting off with a neck and then going to the really using the guitar. Not effects. No effects or anything. It's just the guitar, very organic approach,
And I think, again, rather like we were talking about Cream, I think kudos to the band as well. I think this is John McVie on bass and Mick Fleetwood on drums.
Yeah,
and you listen to this gentle shuffle they're playing. It's beautiful, and the walking bass line that John McVie plays, it's wonderful. You think, oh, that's a piece of piss. Anyone can play that, and then you try playing it, and you go, oh,
and you're making a mistake.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And here's the deal as well. Peter Green. It's like when Wes Montgomery plays the blues. These little entry points that Wes comes in. Peter Green's got those same entry points. Not playing on the one, but on a syncopation, and that's kind of really nice. he delays where he should play, where you think he just delays it, maybe a quarter note or eighth note, and then comes in,
And also, I mean, the general feel of the piece is very mellow and very fluid, but then he just stabs it with little bit down, things like that just get a little antsy.
So he's got somewhere to go. Like I was saying, there's a lot of players, they want to come in, fire their best licks at you in the first 10 seconds. The first 12 bars, they're firing, guns all blazing, and that's just not the way to do it. He's, you can see he's building up to it, and then he's hitting you. But
so
he starts nice and slow.
Moving on, another piece of blues. This is a slightly strange one. The band leader in this case is a man called Joel Sonnier, who is a Louisiana squeezebox player and singer. And he recorded this album called Come On Joel way back, 90s, I guess, maybe 80s. It does a cover of Richard Thompson's Tear-Stained Letter, which is nicely turned out on this album. But this song is a Robert Cray song called I've Slipped Her Mind. It's a slow blues.
Yeah.
I prefer Robert Cray's version for the vocals, but this is a strange thing to say given that Robert Cray is a guitarist. I much prefer Joel Sonnier's version because the guitar player, I don't even know who it is. It's a session guitarist.
Is this an American fella?
Yeah, they're very American. And
South Louisiana. Epic guitar solos by Kenny Greenberg.
Kenny Greenberg, okay, who I think was a Nashville player. I played this to one of my friends years ago, and he said that's one of the best bits of guitar playing I've ever heard. It sounds like the bloke's playing for his life.
Hey man, let's go. That's a killing tone there. It sounds to me like a Strat through a super reverb wound.
Could be. Could be. It's isn't it exquisite? I mean, never even heard of the bloke.
It's a strong Stevie Ray Vaughan influence to me.
It's Southern American states, Texas, Louisiana type stuff.
But it's got those beautiful, that same sort of bend where you really milk that bend and the super reverb is really hot.
I mean, that's the kind of solo. If you'd heard Gary Moore play that, you'd be well bloody chuffed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really nice. And it's a great guitar tone. It's like, that's how, it's a very infectious guitar tone. And he's pacing himself. He's not going completely bananas. He's going with the flow, the vibe of the song.
Yeah.
Tasteful. Yeah, it's good. It's a good song.
I reckon that album probably sold about 3,000 copies,
Really? It's nice.
Buried. I mean, nobody's ever heard of it. It's extraordinary.
Kenny Greenberg. I mean, hopefully some of our listeners will know this cat and be able to sort of
let's do a bit of research on him, yeah? So look, to play us out, I've got two more for you, but I'm going to bring things a little more modern because I know we've been in the past, deep in the past for a while. Two more for you. We're going to go a little bit more where jazz and blues meet each other now.
Okay.
The first one, I'm going to shout out for an Englishman. I've had the privilege and the embarrassment of sharing a stage with this man once when we closed the Alley Cat Club, Denmark Street, the last night of the open night there. He and I were both performing, not together, I hasten to say, and he was astonishing as usual. But he's probably Britain's greatest sort of white hope for the electric guitar. He's making most of his money in the States now. It's Matt Schofield. Interestingly, the piece that I've chosen is actually quite old. It's off one of his first albums. And for me, he's often matched it, but he's never bettered it. The other thing is, it's very interesting. You'll hear him play simply over one chord change. It's just the 1 to the 4. In this case, I think it's F to B flat. And he just plays around over the 1 and the 4. And I've chosen the solo that he plays out to. It's quite long, but he just keeps on playing interesting stuff and changing his tone a little bit and increasing the intensity and the attack a little bit. A style that, you know, we've very much become used to from Matt Schofield. And it's fantastic playing.
Here, but I do know the drummer very well, Evan. I played with him. He's a great drummer. So really, for me, if you've got Evan playing drums for you, then you are a lucky fella, because Evan has just got one of the best shuffles in Europe for sure. He's probably the best blues drummer in Europe.
Fantastic.
So if you got him playing, if you're playing, and I played with him and everything, whenever you play with Evan, you sound good, you know. Matt's tone here is really amazing. I've met Matt quite a few times, actually. I think my favorite tone of Matt's was on his first live album, when he had his Super Reverb, a Red Snapper, and George L. Cable. Because I used to, my band used to gig around London with, and we used to go and watch his band. And he had this really simple rig. And they did this album called Live Trio or something, and it was like the best guitar tone I've heard since Peter Green and Eric Clapton. You know, I mean, I wasn't around when they were playing, but it was, for me, that was a landmark. And like you, I think that was, for me, that was his best tone he ever had. Then he got the 2-rock, and he went to a soft 2 pedal, and it was still really amazing, but it wasn't quite as good as that original setup. And I think I think, you know, he's had this incredible, he came out with this incredible tone, and I don't think he's ever, you know, I'd like to see him go back to that original setup he had of the super reverb and the red snapper pedal. That was, for me, pinnacle.
Yeah.
His playing is really solid. He's a very, very solid player, rhythmically very solid. He's very clever in terms of, you know, using major thirds when playing over the dominant chords. You can really hitting those flat 7s, major thirds. And then another thing about him, you know, he plays the diminished half step, whole step, you know, a la Robben Ford. And you know, you know, it's a very consistent, solid player. You know,
I think for me, it's interesting what you say about Evan, because I think the thing that stands out for this track, fantastic notes, fantastic continuity, brilliant tone. But I think what stands out most for me, if I try and play like this, he swings. The lead solo swings. So we're back to Ritchie Blackmore again. It's about the importance of rhythm in your playing, and how I feel how it's missing from mine. I've got lots of fast fingers and notes and shit, but the importance of rhythm inside and underneath the playing. And Matt on this track, it's just the way he swings as well. You can almost take the backing band out and the guitar solo will still swing.
But he's got a great Hammond player as well. Really good Hammond player who plays the left-hand bass. I mean, there are no weaknesses in that performance. You know, Matt is a fantastic guitarist. Evan's, you know, incredible drummer, and you've got a great Hammond. I can't remember the name of the Hammond player, but he's very, very good. So the three of them as a unit, just incredible. They are very, very good.
For the last number, I thought we'd segue. We're going to catch up on a couple of things that have already been mentioned in this video. So the narrative's really good. So first of all, I mentioned when we were talking about Ritchie Blackmore and those breaks in Why Didn't Rosemary. One of those breaks comes back in this solo that I want you to listen to now, which you'll know well. The other thing is, of course, that we're basically, you've mentioned him several times. I mention him pretty much whenever I talk about the guitar. The guy is one of the modern heroes of the guitar. And, you know, it's pretty much the only person that you could put after such a performance from Matt Schofield. And it is, of course, Robben Ford. And this is the same album as Talk to Your Daughter, and also Ain't Got Nothing But the Blues, isn't it?
I think it's called Talk to Your Daughter, isn't it?
I think the album is called Talk to Your Daughter.
Yeah, the first album was called Inside Story.
Okay. You know, I don't think I've even heard that.
No, it's actually the first, technically it's the first Yellow Jackets album, because Russell Ferranti, Jimmy Haslett, they were all met on that Inside Story.
Right.
So after that, they did the Yellow Jackets.
Okay. Well, so anyway, this one, but I've chosen this track, which is a bit of a sort of LA session track, really. But just, again, because the solo is fantastic. And this is, if you like, you know, we played Ain't Got Nothing But the Blues in our previous video for the mastery of the clean tone. This is the driven side of the Dumble. Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm not even sure. It might not even be a Dumble. It might even be pre-Dumble. I don't know. But it's, whatever you call it, it's that bloody tone that everybody's after. And it really is. And so the tone is sublime. The playing's sublime. It's just, you know, what better, you know, example to cap it off with. But I mean, I don't really even need to ask you to listen to this because you know it probably backwards.
You know, the word master I use very, very sparingly, but I'm happy to call this guy a complete master. I mean, actually, I think his brother is a harmonica player, Mark Ford, and it's almost like a harmonica tone on this one, you know, the kind of harmonica blasts. But here, this guitar, you know, he's getting harmonics. It's just like the rhythmic stuff he does is so clever, and I mean, and he's playing the solo really works with this. It takes it up. It's just incredible. It's absolutely mind blowing. This guy.
So he was, before he was a guitar player, he was a sax player.
Well, there you go.
And you can hear, you know, him going for that kind of vocality of tone and those lines.
Yeah, like I said, the harmonica. Yeah. But it's just incredible. It's just the tone, the touch. That's definitely a Dumble. But it's just mind blowing. The guy is a genius, absolute genius.
So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I've now battered Ramon with enough of my crazy music choices. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a departure for us. We'd really love to hear your suggestions and recommendations. And, you know, again, if you can keep in the spirit of it, you know, not the most obvious, you know, but some of the slightly less off the beaten track things. I mean, if you can find anything as obscure and as good as that Joel Sonia solo, I'll love you for life. But, you know, we certainly hope you've enjoyed this little knockabout. And what have you got to say about that, partner?
Well, Bob, it's been a real pleasure. I mean, you know what we should be singing now? Bring me sunshine, bring me love. Anyway, I don't know if you Americans know, but we had a great show in the 70s and 80s called Morecambe and Wise, and they used to sing out the show with Bring Me Sunshine. And I see Bob and myself as a kind of modern day Morecambe and Wise.
The lockdown, underground troglodyte Morecambe and Wise.
Yes. Oh. So we're going to perform that. We're going to perform Bring Me Sunshine. The next time we're together, we'll sing it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, sing it and play it. Yeah.
Okay.
Bring me sunshine. Right.
And anyway, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we'll say cheerio for now. Join us again soon on the Bob and Ramon Show.
It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from... You can tell we're on Zoom.
God bless.
Bye.